Hey everyone, it is Alyssa from Planned Alyssa, and I am here with this week's What I Sold on Etsy video. I'm happy to report that I had a better week than I've had the past couple of weeks. I definitely met my sales goal this week. I sold 18 items on Etsy this week for a total of $270. My goal for the week is 200, so I'm very happy to sell $270 worth of stuff. And I will go ahead and show you each of the vintage items that I sold this week on Etsy. Do keep in mind that the price you see is just the selling price, so that doesn't include the shipping fees paid by the buyer and doesn't include the fees that I paid to Etsy or fees I paid to purchase the item. But here is what sold this week. First item I sold this week was a craft kit, a sewing kit. It was a cross-stitch kit. Has this cute cat's design. Cats leave paw prints on our hearts. It sold for $20. It was a new, unused kit, still sealed in its original package. I do not remember where I picked this one up. And the next item I sold was a Christmas decoration, sold for $20. This is a kind of tacky plastic one with Santa and some elves. Just like not a tree decoration, but a decoration to sit on your mantle or table or what have you. And I think this one came from an auction lot with a bunch of other Christmas stuff. And just a reminder that, Christmas stuff sells all year long. It's February and I'm selling Christmas stuff. So, if you do have Christmas stuff to list and, go ahead and list it. It might sell. Don't wait until, November or whatever. This is a new old stock stickers package. Hallmark Cards made this. It sold for $6. Has these cool science fiction spacecraft here. It was not specifically Star Wars, although it's definitely influenced by Star Wars, and I can't remember. The package was dated. It was, 1977, something like that. So definitely Star Wars influence there. I picked this up with some other very similar sticker packages, some of the same ones and some similar ones at a thrift store. Next, two items that sold, these both went to the same buyer. They're both little grandma's brag books, each sold for $5. And this was, I think, my only international order of the week. It definitely was an international order. But so there's this cute one with the blue oval and the flowers on it. And then there's this one with the pink oval and the bunny and some flowers. So just cute vintage brag books. I don't remember where either of these came from. I think thrift stores, maybe a rummage sale. I'm not sure. So this vintage mini iron, it was like an advertising thing. Round oak stoves, I think was what it was stamped. Sold for $15, smaller size. And I picked this up in a lot with some other like iron miniatures at an auction. And I sold some different postcards this week. This one sold for $7. It was from Nebraska, the Kearney Public Pool, I think it was. And great vintage scene with, all these people in their old-fashioned bathing suits there, probably like 1950s, 1960s-ish, I guess. Tinted style linen postcard. And I don't think this one was in used condition. I think this was blank on the reverse. And I sold this A.A. Milne book, Now We Are Six. It was a hardcover book with a green cloth cover. Not anything like a first edition or anything like that. I think from like the 1960s, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 1970s. Anyway, it sold for $8. I think I picked this up at a rummage sale. Might have been a thrift store. I know I got not too long ago. I just listed it, and I am behind on listings, so I'm getting through the backlog of stuff, and this was part of the backlog. And here's another item that was part of the backlog. This was a rotary telephone. It sold for $40. I picked this up at a thrift store. It was before Christmas, I know, and I only just got it listed within the past week or so, I guess. And what can I say about this? Well, I didn't test it. I couldn't test it. I used to, my boyfriend's parents used to have a landline at the house, and I could test phones over there, but they don't have the landline anymore, so I don't really know anyone that's old school enough and close by that I can test a phone with, so I sold it as untested, and it sold for $40. And this was a pretty big set of Beatrix Potter books. There were 16 books in this set. Sold for $30. They're all hardcover. They all have paper dust jackets. It's not a complete set of her books. I thought it might be, but I guess she really had a lot of books. So it is a nice size set. Now the problem with this book, or with this set, is that some of the books in it were damaged. They had some water damage, so probably could have gotten more money if they were in better condition. These were something I picked up at a rummage sale. And I actually sold 2 sets of these to the same buyer. Sold for $12. They're a set of 4 porcelain place card holders. Schmid, I think, was the maker on them. These were something I picked up at a thrift store. I'd actually picked up 3 boxes when I bought them. I sold 1 box a few months ago, and then these 2 to the same buyer. This is a pretty cool vintage bridge set. It's got the 2 decks of cards, it's got a score pad, it's got tally cards, even has a little pen that comes with it, and they're all printed with this vintage turtle illustration. Comes in the original box. So I thought this was pretty cool. It sold for $20. This is something I picked up at a church rummage sale. And this is a vintage cookie jar of, in the shape of the old woman who lived in a shoe, the nursery rhyme. Sold for $26. This is something I picked up at a thrift store. I picked it up kind of a while ago, and I really thought it was cute and thought it would sell quickly, but it's been around a while. And part of the problem with some of these bigger items is just that the shipping cost is, so high on them. So that does, I think, scare away some buyers who, are like, oh, I'm not going to pay that much for it. But it did finally sell, so I'm happy to see it go to a good home. And I sold another postcard this week. This one, it's not the Grand Canyon. It looks like the Grand Canyon, but it wasn't. I forget where, but somewhere between Arizona and New Mexico along Route 66. A vintage tinted style postcard. Also, I believe, unused. And this one sold for $6. And I sold this vintage whiskey pitcher, decanter, whatever you want to call it, pitcher, I guess. Black Velvet was the brand name on it, which I was not familiar with. Sold for $18. And I am not positive where I got this one. I did get some a while back in an auction lot, but I don't think this came from that same lot. It might have come from a thrift store. And I sold another kit this week. This one was a crewel embroidery kit. Avon was the maker on it, which is kind of strange. But it makes this cool spinning wheel and flowers design. Now this is something where the package had been opened, so it wasn't in the original packaging, but it was completely unused and, in perfect condition. And this sold for $15, and I do not remember where I picked it up. And finally this week I sold, well, it's not really a postcard, but a postcard booklet folio type thing, souvenir folio. Sold for $5. It's a smaller sized one. It was from Youngstown, Ohio. If you've watched some of my videos recently, I picked up kind of a lot of these from, it was like Youngstown, Toledo, or maybe 2 from Toledo. Anyway, of these different little booklets. I don't know why, they had so many at the thrift store, but they did have a nice little lot of them, so I picked those up and have been selling them little by little. Thank you everyone for watching. That's everything that I sold. I put out these videos every week showing the different vintage items that I've sold in my Etsy shop, Planned Alissa, and then when I can, try to get some other videos out for you on reselling and Etsy and print on demand and all that good stuff. I hope you guys all have a great weekend, and I will see you all again soon. Happy selling, everyone!